What's up, guys? My name is SnyperSama, but you can call me Sniper. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going over the strongest two different weapons for an all-arounder dual blades build. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there's actually two elements that stand out above the rest when it comes to strength in the game. You have your different types. You have fire, you have thunder, you have ice, you have water, you have dragon. And you have the status ailments. That would be blast, poison, paralysis, and sleep. The problem with these status ailments is that the longer you use them in a singular fight, the less effective they become. And that goes for all of them. And that is because monsters start to develop resistances to it. So, if you were to para a monster once in a fight, it's going to take you a little longer to para it a second time. After the second time, it's a third. And that's an if you can get the third in time before you either capture or finish off whatever it is you're hunting. And that is going to apply for all of the elements. With elements, however, you are always going to be doing that increased damage. In fact, what adjusts the amount of elemental damage you do is where you hit the monster. Monsters have something called elemental hit zones. These elemental hit zones on, say, Chotacabra, you can see, are right down here. You can see that against the Chotacabra's head, using a fire or a water or an ice weapon are a 1-star, meaning they're not super effective. But thunder is very effective. Meanwhile, if we were to scroll down here, you can see on the back legs, thunder is still super effective, but fire and water no longer do anything extra. That is because every monster has their own specific hit zones. Because of that, element is something you really need to pay attention to. Whatever it is you're fighting, you want to make sure that you are hitting the place where it's most effective so you do the most damage. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the two best elements in the game and the star of this build. For dual blades specifically, you want to rock elements. And that is because dual blades are extremely good at applying those elements because of how fast they attack. The two best elements, at least in my opinion in the game, are ice and dragon. And that is for one of two reasons. The amount of resistances and the amount of monsters they're good against. So I guess one. They work in tandem with each other. What I mean by that is when it comes to ice, you only have 3 monsters in the entirety of Monster Hunter Wilds right now that are not weak, they are resistant to ice. And that is going to be Jindahad, Hirabami, and Blungunga? Yeah, Blungunga. I want to make sure I was pronouncing that right. Which means, against every other monster, there's no resistance. They are going to do a minimum amount of damage. They are going to do a flat amount of damage. But there's also more monsters that are weak to ice. On the flip side is you have Dragon. There are only a few monsters that are immune or they're resistant to Dragon. That is going to be Blunganga, Chotacabra, Lala Barina, Nursilla, Zuwu, and I believe Yankaku. Don't lie, because we all know you're not farming those monsters, which makes Dragon very, very effective. Okay? You see where I'm going with this? The whole idea behind this build is that it is a weapon build for anything that utilizes the strength of elemental hit zones. So, we have here my two best elemental dual blades in the ice and in the dragon form. Ideally, on these weapons, you are going to want to roll 3 attack as the production with the element of your choice, ice or dragon. And you're going to go for sharpness and element. Unfortunately, my ice ones here, it did roll 1 attack. We didn't need it, but I'm not going to say no to free raw attack. But since we're focusing on elemental damage, it kind of bit us in the butt a little bit. But we have my dragon ones. My dragon ones are nuts. They are 4 element, 1 sharpness. This is the perfect roll specifically for dual blades, which is wonderful. I love it. So, this is what you're aiming for. You want 3 attack production, followed by 4, maybe 3 element, and 1 sharpness or 2 sharpness. And the reason for that is because dual blades eats through sharpness like crazy. Okay? We are rocking New Udra, New Udra, New Udra. And that is because Udra is going to give us burst and counterstrike and some great decoration slots, followed by Legiacris in both the arms and in the legs. And that is because it is going to give us weakness exploit and a couple of really nice stamina boosting perks, so that way we don't have to worry about our stamina as much. Last but not least, we have my Golden Age Charm. Okay, this Golden Age Charm is great, is wonderful. The only thing you need out of this entire thing to make this build strong as possible is going to be critical element. If you can get critical element, you're golden. I happen to get critical element with speed eating, which is great. I love speed eating. Super convenient. Great quality of life skill. Critical element is all you need. Ideally, with an offensive decoration slot and at least one defensive decoration slot. If you only get critical element, that's fine. You don't need the rest. It's just a little helpful. Next up is we're going to take a look at our decorations. The decorations on the weapon are identical. And the reason they're identical is because there's not a lot of change that needs to happen. You're just going to adjust them based on what you're doing. If you are fighting Jindahad, don't use the ice. If you are fighting something like Arkfeld, use the dragon because it's weak to dragon. Okay? But it's going to be a Frost Handicraft or a Dragon Handicraft, Razor Sharp Handicraft, Razor Sharp Handicraft, and last but not least, we are using something that nobody uses, Critical Eye, Expert. And that is where Critical Element comes into play. Critical Element states that you get increased elemental damage when you land critical hits, and it greatly increases. Unfortunately, the tab that I had that showcased exactly how much it does did not save. I hold on. The critical multiplier of it for dual blades at level 3 is 1.15. 1.15, meaning, let's say we were going to do 100 damage. We would increase that damage by 15. Typically, you wouldn't think that's a lot. However, when you take into consideration the fact that dual blades are constantly hitting, that multiplier adds up quickly. Very, very quickly. Let's say you hit 10 hits of 100. Those 10 hits all apply an additional 15. You've now done 150 extra element damage on top of the damage you were already doing. And it just keeps going. And that is because dual blades hits so fast. Okay? So, the reason we rock Expert is because we want our affinity to be decent. And with our total sets of skills, we have Weakness Exploit, which is going to give us 20%, which is what our weapons are naturally at. 30%, giving us a 50% as long as we are hitting the weak zones. This is where I was talking about with the elemental hit zones. If you are hitting an elemental hit zone, especially a weak one to whatever the weapon it is that you're using, ideally dual blades in this case, you want to make sure that you are hitting that. You will want to make sure that you are hitting where it is weak, because not only are you triggering the most amount of damage you're getting from your element, but you're also going to be triggering Weakness Exploit, meaning you are at a natural 50% affinity as long as you know what you're doing, okay? On top of that, if there is a wound, now it's 70%. After Latent Power has been activated, you're sitting at about 60% affinity with a stamina reduction. Stamina reduction is insanely good, specifically for dual blades. But there's more. We also have Leviathan's Fury, Azure Bolt 1 from our Legiacris gear, which gives us 15% affinity, meaning we have the 50 natural. Once Latent Power is active, we're at 60 natural, and when Leviathan's Fury is active, an additional 15%, giving us approximately 75% affinity when all of your skills are active, which they're very easy to have active. Okay? Latent Power is going to activate once you've taken enough damage or enough time has been exhausted. Weakness Exploit should always be active, especially if you're using elemental weapons. And then Leviathan's Fury is just going to proc whenever it's ready to proc when it comes off a cooldown. Especially because you hit so fast, it's easy. Okay? Going to our armor decorations, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 physique jewels, and that is because Constitution is insanely good for dual blades. You reduce the amount of stamina that you lose when you are in your demon mode by 50%. That's crazy and super needed for stamina. Okay, that includes your dodging, that includes your stamina drain. It's just really, really nice to make sure that you are not running out of stamina and being a sitting duck. Okay, next up is we have one refresh tool. This is going to cap out our stamina surge. Stamina surge is really, really nice because the faster it comes back, the more damage that we can do, because the less you have to worry about the fact that you're caught with your pants down. Okay. We have two tenderizer jewels. This is going to level up our weakness exploit to be max level. And then we have counter strike. Counter is going to max out to have more damage. Counter-Strike can proc when you hit your dodges, depending on if you get hit by a follow-up attack while you're dodging. Not to mention, everybody gets hit. It is definitely one of those skills that I can see everybody using without any issues. Okay? And then last but not least, we have a shockproof. Because we all know that you as a dual blades player are always messing somebody up. Don't lie, we know it's you. It's okay. Sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes. But the majority of the time, it's on you. Okay? Overall, this build is kind of to showcase the strength of elements. And the reason I wanted to come out with this right now is because it gives it plenty of time to kind of circulate a little bit. Because when Title Update 4 drops, if you haven't seen anything, you need to know that the monster showcased for Title Update 4 will have two elements, fire and dragon. So you better be prepared. This is to kind of explain and break down exactly why having multiple elements and why the elemental hit zones are valuable. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's build. Thank you all for coming and watching. Thank you all for hanging out. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Farewell.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.